Check, check, check. See what happens when you don't set things up for a while. G'day everyone and welcome to tonight's coverage of the AFL draft for 2021. I hope you can all hear us now. Please raise your hands if you can hear us. Thank you, Francis Greenslade. Hopefully people can just put up with me while I just get myself organised here, because it's been a bit of a rush to get home in time to get this going. I'll just set up the Discord thing. And I'll welcome in Peter. Come in, Peter. When you're ready, Pete. While we're doing that, let's play the intro, get on with it, shall we? Here we go.
We're away, mate.
We're away. Oh my God. How you going, Pete?
Really well, mate. How are
There's
you?
something going on with this as well. See what happens when you don't do it for a while?
I know, a bit out of practice.
Now? Oh shit, I can't
Bit out of practice.
This is fantastic. Oh, you know why? Because my bloody headphones aren't plugged in. Christ, what a disaster. Hang on.
Pretty scientific stuff.
How about now?
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, beautiful. I can hear you. Fantastic. How are we going, everyone? Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Obviously, we're all a bit rusty here, considering it's been a few weeks. Peter, how you doing?
Really well, mate. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. As I said, a bit rushed and a bit flustered, but we will get there, and we've got a bit of time to set ourselves up anyway. So we've got about 30 minutes before the draft kicks off. Now, Pete, I'm sure you will join me just at the moment in, first of all, welcoming everyone who's joined us on the Discord chat and also on YouTube on the chat there. G'day to everyone who's joined us. Hopefully we'll get a few more in as the night goes on. This will be a fairly loose sort of format, I think, depending on how things go, but feel free to have your say, have a chat, either in text on Discord or YouTube, or don't forget you can join our live studio audience on Discord. Actually come in and have an audio chat with us as well. So Pete, I'm sure you will agree that our best wishes need to be extended to Macca at the moment.
Absolutely.
So Macca, who was going to be on tonight, had a bit of an accident during the week and has suffered a bit of an injury, and currently getting looked after by the CrowCast medical crew, and we'll be back on deck hopefully for our Sunday night wrap-up of the draft. But in the meantime, we send our best wishes both to him and Mrs. Macca as well. Great to see Nikki and Donkey on the chat. Fantastic. Some CrowCast stalwarts.
Absolutely.
So, Pete, while I'm busy just getting myself together, give me your view on how you think this might pan out this evening.
Oh, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I was just on the chat a few minutes ago, Fiend, just talking about the fact that Anna just has that little bit of a feel that you've discovered your Christmas presents before Christmas Day, and you know what you're going to get, and so there's nothing really to unwrap. So it's got that little bit of a feel about it, I think, with the with Josh Rochelle, and you know, if we pick him at 6, I guess look, I think honestly, what we've all turned up for tonight and what we're all probably waiting for is to see whether there is any pick swaps, or if there are trades, any twists and turns. There's some talk today about the Richmond pick 7 and 15 for 4 and 33. So I guess that there's that's probably the main source of interest. But look, mate, there's every chance that we'll just flick over pick 6. They'll say Josh Rochelle, and we'll all go home. And that's no disrespect to Josh. I think he's obviously looks like he's a really, really good player. But there was a comment that I just made in the chat feed. I'm interested in your views on this because I think that you have got some views, and that is that I feel like there's a lot of excitement around the Victorian players this year. And, gee, I don't think they've played a whole lot more games than they played last year. A few, definitely.
Yeah.
But some developmental issues, do you think?
Well, look, I've posed the question a couple of times, and I hark back to last year where clubs were very wary of the Victorian crop, simply because of the disruption to their season, etc. And, we're now 2 years in to the COVID disruptions to the Victorian junior system in general. And, these guys have had limited game time, and yes, they put on some good showings in the championship games that they played, some of these lads, but I put to you, how many Victorian kids from last year's draft crop have really kicked on in the first 12 months with their respective clubs? I can't think of too many.
No, probably Nick Cox had a good year at Essendon, didn't he? But it's fairly limited, really, other than him. And so, I mean, really, we're talking about the kids there had what, maybe 4 or 5 NAB Cup games and 1 interstate game. One Champs game, which was a country versus metro game. So really, that was it, as I understand it. I don't think it was. So it was not a lot, was it?
No, it wasn't. And I mean, first of all, it's not a lot to actually get a real read on those kids. Oh, pardon me. Not a lot to get a real read on those kids. But secondly, you just feel like developmentally, it puts those kids behind the 8 ball. And, there's been a lot of hype this year and a lot of talk about a top 4 and then it flattening out really quickly. And that top 4, I think, is, first of all, obviously Jason has had exposed form and there's no argument about his standing. But amongst the rest of the top 10, there's not a lot of exposed form. And I think any pick this year is a bit of a risk. And to me, it's not a bad draft to bail out of if you're a South Australian or Western Australian club. Certainly out of the first round, and get some value into next season's draft if you feel there's some value to be gained, second and third round.
Yeah, and look, as you well know, Fane, we've had those discussions off air, and you as you well know, I'm a real G for getting more into next year's draft than this.
Yeah.
For that exact reason, and I just think that there is such an excitement surrounding Victorian kids, and I think that once they hit the park, even just for a few games, everyone just wanted to really talk them up. So anyway, we'll see, and no doubt that the first round tonight will be dominated by the Victorian kids. I think that everyone's keen after what happened last year, keen to have a get their Victorian kid. But and look, let's be perfectly honest, whether it be population or whatever it is, the majority of the top players come out of Victoria, and that's just a statistical fact.
That's just numbers.
So
yeah,
that's just a numbers game, and so recruiters will be keen to get their hands on them, and but it will be interesting next year or over the next couple of years to see how they develop and whether we've got a second year of impacted kids.
Yeah. So I guess leading up to it. All, and we will be playing a little bit of the coverage in the background unless YouTube decide to slip a copyright ban on us or something. But leading it up to it all, I still think there's a rabbit to be pulled out of the hat. To me, the narrative around Josh Rochelle is almost unheard of in terms of the Crows. I think Hamish actually came out and said there's only been one time that he's been there where they've actually told a player they were going to take him if he was there at their pick, and that was Phil Davis. And I just feel like there's a lot of smoke and maybe a few little bits of cloak and dagger stuff going on amongst clubs to try and suss out maybe what other clubs are looking to do, flush out their preferences. What do you think?
I think it's absolutely correct. I think what tends to happen is that do you remember the old days? And when I say the old days, probably only 5-10 years ago, when there was that bloke. What was his name? Was it Matt Bergen? Someone Bergen?
Oh, yeah. Bergen or Burgess or something. Yep.
Used to do a mock draft.
Yep.
And that was the only one. That was the only one there was. Now, I mean, if you have access to social media, there's 100 mock drafts. So you have a whole lot of amateur draft watchers who wanting to put their mock out on social media, and it's not easy to do a mock draft. Do you know what I mean? You got to sit down and so then what happens is you get to Adelaide at 6. Oh, that's easy because it's Rochelle. Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so the next person that does their mock draft, oh well, everyone's got Rochelle going to 6, so and then it becomes easy. Then I can worry about the next pick.
Exactly.
So I don't actually have to expend much mental energy in trying to work out who Adelaide are going to pick. And so all of a sudden, you've got 100 mock drafts with Rochelle, and it becomes fact.
Yeah.
It becomes fact. But I think that probably some of the giveaways in terms of hearing Rochelle himself interviewed. No question that he has put out there that Adelaide have shown a lot of interest in him. I think that he's definitely on our list. Otherwise, I don't think he would have said that. But he's been pretty strongly linked to GWS as well. And I think there was another club who was Fremantle was the other club who were pretty strongly linked to Rochelle as well. So we're not the only club.
No, and nor should we be. But, are we going to... Let's face it, at this stage of his career, what he's shown is that he's a highly skilled X-factor small forward. Now, I think at the beginning of the season, halfway through the season, probably 2 months ago, if you'd have said what we're going to do is take a 180 centimetre small forward, people would have strung you up.
Well, your site would have crashed. We would have melted down.
Yeah. So why now? Why is it now? Whoops, sorry, people. Why is it now that we're in the situation where he's the preferred target? I'd love to hear people's comments on Discord and YouTube about that, because look, I certainly rate Rochelle. I think he's a great player. He's a great prospect. And we all know that the mantra is that you pick on need and all that sort of carry on. I get that. Pick on talent in the first round. I get all of that. But I just wonder whether that's the right move for the Adelaide Crows. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think what tends to happen as well is that we get a lot of confirmation bias comes into it. And as an example, I read a lot of, he can run through the midfield because, he was the under 16 Big Country MVP as a midfielder. Now, as you all know, Fane, I'm pretty heavily involved in SANFL junior football.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, for a fact, that if we've got a kid who is, an outstanding midfielder in under 16s, he ain't getting shifted forward in the under 18s.
No.
That's not going to happen. So he's just going to continue on that trajectory through under 18s. Okay? So it quite often happens the other way around, where you've got a kid who's a really, really talented forward at under 16 level, and my club had one this year. And so the immediate, we're happy to. We only had a 6-game season this year for under 16s, full season next year for under 16s, the SNFL.
Yeah,
as a side story. But we had a very, very talented, medium forward who was outstanding for us in those 6 games. What do you think is going to be happening with him next year at under 18s?
Yeah.
He's going to be pushed into midfield.
Exactly.
He's not going to be... But it doesn't happen the other way around, is what I guess is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, no, that's right. And that's, I guess, why I'm just thinking that there might be something a little bit out of left field. I just feel like it's too stitched up at the moment. Everything seems to be too cut and dried amongst all the mock draft and phantom draft, pundits. And it really works out that way. Yes, we've got 2 father-son picks. Yes, we've got a very open field after the first, let's call it 4 picks, really. But really, I think that actually lends itself to some argy-bargy. We've seen Hawthorn interested in young Matthew Johnson. Richmond have shown some interest in, what's his name? Can't think of his name off the top of my head. But there's just been some names bandied around over the last 24 to 36 hours that make you think that there's something afoot. And let me just see if I can find that kid that Richmond were talking about. Was it? Wasn't a miss, was it?
Not sure. I think they were pretty into Josh Ward, weren't they?
Ward, that's who it was. Yeah, 100%. So, I think there's a lot to go down. Hawthorn, Fremantle, Richmond, I think, are the wild cards in the first round of the draft. I think they've got some stuff to talk about. Freo might get a bit spooked about Erasmus and feel like they want to move up. Interestingly, Hamish hasn't ruled out all the way through. Every interview hasn't ruled out trading pick 4. So we're clearly open to options. It's just a matter, I think, of whether they can pull it off. And whether they have the right deal, the right suitor, I guess you'd say, to be able to get us what we need, whilst fulfilling what they need as well. So,
I think Hamish has certainly made some really interesting comments in the last week in relation to Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, he's talked about him in the same breath as Horn Francis and Callaghan.
Yeah.
When he's talking about at the top end of the draft, he mentions Horn Francis, Callaghan, and then he mentions Wanganeen-Miller.
Yeah.
In the same breath.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. But he also says he rates Wanganeen-Miller as a top 10 draft pick.
That's a very interesting comment because no one else really has, have they?
No one else has. And so it's really interesting that Hamish has been, really talking up Nazar in the last week.
Yeah.
And as everyone who follows this cast knows, he's my hope for our first pick. And you know what? If you picked him at 6, I wouldn't even turn a hair. And I know that people think he's a little bit, he's a little bit out than that. But I'm a big one at the moment, like on exposed form, and we've got a kid here who's played a lot of league football and reserves football this year, reserves grand final. He's played 3 state games, so you know what I mean. You've got some serious exposed forms.
And the knockabout, Nazire, has been his contested work, and yet we've pulled out stats, and you pulled out stats a while back regarding the amount of contested ball he wins. And in the grand final, we had, I think it was 6 tackles and 3 clearances. They didn't show. Couldn't find any contested possession, but he's not shy. He goes when he needs to go, but he's naturally an outside player. He's naturally the end of the chain, the silk, the delivery into the forward line. And as far as I'm concerned, he's actually the perfect player. The only issue I have with him is the same issue that I had with Wayne Miller, coincidentally, and that's his body size at AFL level, whether he can run through the midfield effectively for his body size.
Yeah. Look, they've got to put some weight on him, but he's 188. he'll probably push up to sort of 180. So he's 188, probably ends up 189, 190. So he's that big midfielder that people are crying out for, and funnily enough.
Yeah.
But he needs obviously he needs some body size. He's not, he's pretty light.
Yeah.
But that can be, I mean, he can put some weight on. So he is there's no doubt that he's very, very skinny. Yeah. But I've seen enough of him, Fane. He's played a lot of football this year, a lot of football. He, I think I mentioned earlier in the year, he's one of those very, very unusual players in that the game slows down for him.
Yeah.
And I've always said, it doesn't matter what sport you play, doesn't matter whether it's football, basketball, what it is. If you're a player, cricket, if you're a player that has a lot of time, you're a good player. Time is everything in sport.
Absolutely. And look, when you consider the reasons people are giving for us to recruit Josh Rochelle, aren't they the same reasons why you would recruit Messiah? It's all about X factor. It's all about value for possessions. It's all about being able to, create scoring opportunities. Aren't they the reasons that that Messiah's rated highly?
I'll tell you what, the thing is, Fane, is that they, you talk about, everyone talks about Nazai as being the best kick in the draft.
Yep.
Now, there's 100 other kids there who I guarantee you would have great kicking techniques as well. Okay?
Yep.
But who amongst them at AFL level or senior level has the time to execute? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Do you have the time to execute your skill? Do you have the time and the composure to execute your skill? And the thing with Desire is you watch him play, he just dances around. Everyone just stays off him. He's got all this time, and so he just delivers.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's someone that I would love, and I think that he'll be a real miss if we don't take him. But and this bullshit about he's too outside. Get some vision and have a look at him play.
Well, and that's the bottom line, isn't it? A lot of people are basing their comments off some very limited footage, YouTube packages, all that sort of stuff. You've seen him a bit. I've seen him a bit. I don't have any doubts.
What are the packages going to highlight, do you reckon?
Well, they're going to highlight his delivery because that's his strength, isn't it?
So he's going to be out on his own.
Yep.
And he's going to be delivering the ball. That's what they're going to look
at. Exactly right, Peter.
Yeah. Anyway, it'll be what it'll be, but I'm desperately hoping that we do something to snap him up. That's my hope anyway. And I'm not going to have a crack at Josh Rochelle because he sounds like a great kid, and anybody that can work themselves into the national squad for one sport, whilst also maintaining elite standards in another sport has my total respect.
Yeah.
But how can you possibly be in the bloody Australian under-17 soccer squad and then still be good enough to be? That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And so he's a talent.
And let's not forget too, as Jason Horn there's just on the coverage in the background for those people that are watching on YouTube, looking fairly chilled. Sitting, I don't know who he was sitting there with, but obviously he'd be fairly comfortable with life at the moment. But you're right, Peter. He's one of those blokes that when you're at school, he's a kid that could play, he'd play A-grade cricket, opening the bowling, and, hit 100 when he comes into bat, opening the batting, and then he'd play centre in the ones in footy season.
Kids.
Yeah, and you just want to, it just annoy you. I used to hate those kids. I wasn't that kid, that's for sure. Never mind.
If we get him, make no mistake, I'm right behind him and all the rest of it. I have, and nobody has asked the question, and I have a fundamental issue that nobody has asked the question of him or of anybody as to why he was an MVP midfielder under 16s, and that translated to being a small forward under 18s.
Yeah.
I want that question answered.
Well, I think it's simple. I think it's simple. He didn't have the build for a midfielder. Didn't have it, Peter.
But suddenly, with the confirmation bias comes in, and what we're saying is, he played midfield as an under 16, so he'll be able to play midfield for the Crows at AFL.
Yeah, that's right. Because it fits the narrative. It fits the narrative.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from that. There are obviously some other people in the frame. Finn Callaghan talked about for a while. Anzac's telling me to fast forward. We'll be a little bit behind on the coverage. Oh, we are too. Look at that. Let's just get to the end of that. Let's just... What's going on here? See if we can get Gil's rhetoric on here.
For young footballers, of which the draft is the culmination. NAB's support of the AFL and these programs allows young players to realise lifelong dreams of becoming professional footballers.
No, we don't care about it.
Tonight, that dream becomes a reality for a select group of young men from around Australia. So thank you to NAB, and now I welcome the Chief Operating Officer, Les Matheson.
Well, now we're going to hear from Les.
NAB has proudly partnered with the AFL since
shut
2000.
up. Shut up, Les. Anyway, Finn Callaghan obviously was linked to us for quite some time. It's looking more likely that he doesn't get to us.
Yep.
We've got Mac Andrew, who I think is a great talent, but likely to go Gold Coast, I think.
Yep.
GWS, who we thought might be into Gibcus for a while, you would think, take Callaghan, despite having 955,000 midfielders already.
Yep.
Is there, if we do sit at the 4 pick, disregarding the 2 bids, if we do sit at the 4 pick, and it's not Rochelle and it's not Messiah, could you see someone like a Josh Sin being reached for at 4/6, Peter?
I think that throughout the course of the draft discussions, we've also been linked to Ben Hobbs, who may be a more likeable pick at 6. Josh Sin seems to be out towards that sort of 12 to 15 kind of mark with Messiah. I think probably, but interestingly, Josh Sin is the other one that we've been pretty heavily linked to. Now, let's just play, Yep. We're away.
We're away. We'll just have this sitting in the background so that we.
I've got it on.
Yeah, it's coming through on the cast for those people who are listening on YouTube, but we've got to be a little bit careful there, so I'll just keep the volume down a little bit.
All the talks about Richmond 7 and 15. So I mean, if we get we end up with pick 9, then maybe we're happy to spend that on Messiah. But will Sin get through to 15? Or 17? Don't know.
All right. North are in the frame. 4 minutes left. Well, why? I mean, why are they taking 45 seconds to call Jason Horn?
If you're Jason Horn Prices, what you want is them to call that name in the first 5 seconds.
At 4:59.
What are they doing? Working out whether they want to bid on Dacos, maybe.
Oh, surely they would have worked that out. North take PJ Crow's in the chat. North take Ben Davis, Adelaide.
It's weird. They're now. How long do they get?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. They're down to 3. They're taking a minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's weird. This will dominate pages tomorrow.
What are they waiting for? Come on, you've had like 2 weeks.
What are you doing to the kid? Just honour him and just call his bloody name and just say, we want you. And, geez, how long did it take Hamish to call bloody Riley Philthorpe after he'd had his bloody bid?
Oh,
it's weird.
We're going to bid on Dacos. Trade, for
God's
God's sake.
Not a trade. You're not serious.
No, but it's not North. It's not North.
My God, I had a heart attack, man. That's outrageous. They should be allowed to do that. They should not be allowed to do that.
God.
Exactly. We're on a big pump up.
I
I
don't
thought
have
they
it
had to
like-
wait until the pick before they traded them live.
Is a trade in the national draft.
That's
Oh,
weird.
someone from the North table's on the phone. That's what I like.
Trade done. We thought it might
What's going on?
be-
They're trolling Adelaide supporters. That's all they're doing.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
That's the thing. You can have the draft board set for months and
See,
Well,
I
this
actually
is
thought we were.
suspense.
I actually thought we were a bigger chance of trading for pick 2. I actually thought we might have got a look at pick 2.
Donkey's on the. He's got him. He said it's typical AFL stage managing. Donkey, probably right. They're just creating a bit of stir and a bit of drama, which I've completely fallen for. I've taken the bait.
You just about had a heart attack. Well, I just about had to call 000.
That's a good point in terms
Well, I've upgraded my white wine to a bourbon now.
Oh, God. Actually, that's a good idea. Pete, can you talk for a minute? I'm just going to go and get something a little bit more appropriate for the evening. Won't be a moment.
This is astonishing. And whether it be, I don't know whether it's stage managing from the AFL or or whether I mean, it may well be they're considering the bid on day costs. I don't know. Or are they just sitting there saying, well, I just wonder whether Adelaide will just come up with, the farm and just allowing a little bit of time, because by delaying it for a few minutes, maybe Adelaide start thinking,
Here we go.
maybe we're a chance.
the element as well, because you've got clubs that
Could they be doing it deliberately just to see if Adelaide does come in with something massive?
and then off the back of that,
Yeah, but they didn't initiate the trade.
because of what you have to come up with.
So the clock doesn't restart for that trade. So they're at 1 minute.
They're at 1 minute.
What? What's going on here? Oh, they've.
Trade is in. Come on, don't tell me this is happening. This will be...
No, this is North
Stunning.
Melbourne Western Bulldogs.
In this year's draft. So, Kevin, everyone's just getting their ducks in a row.
They are, and gee, to think it's 20 years ago we had our super draft, and we're talking about
This
that
is,
for a long time. We're
astonishing.
talking about this draft too for different reasons.
What's going on?
45
to when Luke Hodge was
45
taken.
seconds left,
He's only
Fane.
just retired a couple of years ago. What a great selection he was.
You're behind. We're down to.
As the clubs
Oh,
debated
pick is
whether
in.
to go Luke Ball or Chris Judd.
Here we
way back
go.
Then, with that first pick, that debate went for 3 or 4 months at the time, well, North
Shut up, Shea.
taking every bit of
Here we
their
go.
Every moment of their time as we head back to Gil McLaughlin to do the honours.
With pick 1 of the 2021 NAB AFL Draft, North Melbourne Football Club have selected Jason Horne-Francis.
Oh, the dream's over. The dream's over, Peter.
What a moment for Jason
Weird.
Horne-Francis.
Oh,
from the
mate.
South Adelaide Football Club.
I know it was inevitable, but bloody hell.
Smile there, I'm sure inside
He doesn't look that happy.
absolutely bursting with pride and
Well, you wouldn't be
excitement.
happy going
It is
North Melbourne,
such a
surely.
special moment in his football career. It is only the
It
beginning
didn't
of
tank
a
his-
football career. He is a player
Did-
with very few weaknesses.
Oh, 'cause they're,
Games offensively and
they're not
defensively, and
live.
Kevin Sheehan, the Kangas have got to
What
be
did they... I mean, that was just really weird.
Yeah, because the South Aussie boys are at the pub.
Okay, so GWS are now on the clock.
Yep. Wouldn't it be great if it was like the American sports where they could take a kid and then on-trade him straight away?
That'd be classic.
Even when the game was completely done, this guy was still giving 100% in the contest.
What's PJ? What do you got there, mate? Hang on. What's going on?
number one since his mentor Bryce Gibbs. That was back in.
Oh, here we go. See, I think we've got a live feed.
A nice little piece of symmetry there as we head over to David King.
That was a very, very strange, very strange. So we expect GWS to bid on Darcy. Yeah.
Well, that you would think so. That's the one that everyone's saying that they should bid on, or will bid on.
Did you think that Dacos was pretty funny coming out and basically having a crack at GWS for not even interviewing him?
Well, he's a funny one, Dacos, because I think it was on SEN. They basically got him rating the Collingwood list. And here's a rookie coming in. Doesn't matter how good you are, you're still a rookie. And he's basically rating their list. And he's got to walk into that club room tomorrow. Oh, there we go. There's a bit of reaction.
Very strange.
They must be on delay. They're at the pub. What's the pub near Adelaide Oval? Not the cathedral.
The cathedral.
Cathedral.
The Queen's Head.
I think it's the cathedral there.
Well, good on you, Jason. That was hard earned and well deserved.
Well, GWS, you would think from a list management perspective they should go tall, but all the word is that they're going to take Callaghan. So this is going to be a very interesting pick. This next pick.
Oh yeah.
Because
we're going to bid on Darcy first, so we've got to get that out of the way.
Yeah, we've got to get that out of the way. Because
once that's done.
Oh, Malcolm Blight. Come on, Blighty, you're a bloody crow eater.
How are you getting... I'm on KO and I can't seem to get bloody live. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
I'm still a couple of seconds behind you.
Yeah, shift your slider thing forward. I like to do the same. Yeah, as Vuddy Magic says on the chat, don't mention the Hawthorn game. How bloody costly has that win been?
Yeah.
I don't. Lonely as Shoka, I don't think it's a freebie, but I can't be sure because I've got a sub on KO, so someone else might be able to tell you, but I don't know. Oh, all right, get off North Melbourne now. We've finished with them, and GWS only got a minute and a half left. So can we just move on?
Yep.
AFL coverage, please, because this next pick, as I said, Pete, is quite pivotal for us.
Yep.
You.
Because there was a lot of talk about GWS being into Richelli as well.
Yeah, they're interviewing Jason Horn. There's only a minute left for GWS. This is a very, very weird coverage.
I think the Magoo's got it right. It's all being very stage managed. They'd be saying, "Don't put a selection in yet because we want to interview Horn Francis."
Yeah. And don't forget, people in Discord, if you want to have a chat about things, there's going to be time for quick snippets. So stick your hand up in the Discord chat if you want to have your say while all this palaver's going on. And I apologise.
Giants are down to 40 seconds. Bloody hell.
Well, 30 actually. You're still behind, Pete.
I'm down to 33, 32, 31.
Oh, the pick's in for GWS. So they'll finish their interview with Jason Horn first, and then they'll tell us who GWS has done. But as I said, if they take Callaghan, that wipes us out. But if they don't take Callaghan, then you would think that locks Finn into Adelaide's list, don't you think?
Well, do you think Gold Coast would take him?
No, I don't think so. I think they're locked into Mac Andrew.
Right. Okay.
I think.
Bid pick.
What the hell do I know? But that's my read anyway.
Bid pending. Here we go. The dog used to come in for Sam Dar. How's it doggy style? Just picking up pick 1 and pick 2.
Yeah.
Or playing in a prelim.
Yeah,
it's not bad business.
Bad.
Not bad business if you can do it.
Yeah. Well, father sons are just a roll of the dice, aren't they? So.
So what? The doggies get 5 minutes now to bid.
Well, no, they've bid. So GWS have taken Sam Darcy. The Bulldogs have put in their pick. So that's a fait accompli. That is. So Darcy goes to the Bulldogs.
How long do they get though before this is confirmed?
Well, I think it's done. They put forward their picks as long as they add up. Then it's done and done.
Right. Well, okay. So it's going to be. So now GWS, do they get another 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think they probably do. I think they do, and that's why this coverage is going to be 9 hours.
Interesting looking at last year's draft there. Ronnie Thilthorpe and Nick Cox, kind of the big guys coming out of that draft.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Gil. We already knew that. So that's done. So Darcy to Bulldogs at 2.
Matching the smile here of Western Bulldogs games record holder
it's interesting that this draft it's got the potential to be really, really boring and just go the same way that 1,000 mock drafts ago.
That's right. That's right. It's like when you're watching a really bad TV show and you're just hoping that there's a twist somewhere that'll get your interest.
Yeah, someone do it and then a live trade will come up and it's like pick 72 and 76 for.
Yeah. Well, as you said, Pete, the Bulldogs have done really well. This kid is developing really nicely. He's come on really quickly too, and he's 205 now. That's a good size in modern footy. Brad Johnson can't wipe the smile off his face, as you'd expect. All right, so GWS down to 345.
Annoying. I'm still 5 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
It's just KO.
All right. So we've talked about Finn, we've talked about Josh Sin, we've talked about who was the other lad that you brought up? Hobbs. Can you see anyone else in the frame, Peter, at Adelaide's first pick?
No, I can't.
I think it's
going to be. I think that if we pick at 6, it's probably going to be Rochelle, isn't it? No, let's be honest. Maybe Hobbs.
Come on,
I'm sure I'm reaching at Nazire, and I think that the reality is that the only way we get him is if we trade back and pick up probably Richmond 7 and 15.
Yeah. Do you do 7 and 15 for 4 though?
Well,
probably see, the thing is, in this draft, 4 is probably the last of the value picks.
Yeah.
7 and 15 aren't, like, even 7 is getting into the crapshoot time, and 15 definitely is. You'd probably want a second rounder next year.
As we're talking about it, I reckon you're talking about the Victorian kids, a lot of it is a crapshoot, even at the higher picks.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, here we go. Picks in.
Picks in.
Finn Callahan.
Getting close to upset now.
There goes Finn.
Finn's gone.
There you go. An interesting pick by GWS considering their list profile. I still had my doubts about whether they would take him, but there he goes. I think Hamish would be pretty disappointed, but probably not unexpected.
He'd be having a chat to Nixie about right about now about that Hawthorn game.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's a question I'd love to ask Hamish is how much do they talk between the recruiting department, the list management department, and the match committee about these sorts of things, this sort of strategy.
Yep.
He looks good, doesn't he? He's a good size.
Oh yeah, look, terrific kid. A lot of talk about it being a real flight risk in Callahan, so there is that as well to consider.
Yeah.
I'm sure we still would have taken him, but yeah, later down the track we'd sort of have to work out and see how much value GWS actually get out of the pick.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Bulldogs might end up with 2 and 3 out of this draft in a couple of years with Callahan's links to Beveridge.
Yep.
We've got Gold Coast on the clock now, expected to take a tall. Mac Andrews the one.
Yeah, I think. Will they bid on Dacos though?
Oh, they'll probably bid on Dacos first, yeah.
Or have all the clubs got together and thought, after that interview with Dacos about the fact that he wasn't going to take him one, do you reckon they've all got together and thought, this kid's a flog, stuff him, and we'll just let him drift out to about 10?
Wouldn't that be funny? Because, there really is no compulsion to take him. And this is the thing with the father-son. It's like, well, you're only bidding to take away picks, but at the end of the day, Collingwood's picks are rubbish to get the points, to get Dacos.
Yep.
there's no real compulsion to pick him. You're almost thinking to yourself, "Oh, stuff it. They can just take him at their pick and be done with it."
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Poor Metal Jacobs is watching porn, apparently, which would probably be more interesting than probably more interesting than what's going on here at the moment.
Especially getting these bids out of the way. Ends up with a team, giving himself 10 minutes on the bloody clock.
Yeah, Radicus Horn Francis is a Port fan. Obviously got a relationship with Fabian, his stepfather, who's got Port heritage, of course, so I don't think we'll see him in Crows Guernsey. Unfortunately, I think that's done and dusted.
Yep.
So, and I do recall, I went back through last year's podcast, Peter, and at the end of I think it was about round 18, I caught some vision of Jason, and I said, we have to do whatever we can to make sure that Jason Horn's on our list next year. And it's a real shame, for whatever reason, and we can argue the reasons why, but it's a real shame that we've missed that opportunity.
Yeah. Yep. Couldn't agree.
He's a Freo fan, because didn't Fabian play a little bit for Freo at the end of his career? I think he did, didn't he? Yeah. Anyway, it's a real shame, Peter. We might rue this season as another lost opportunity, the same as Lukosius Rankin.
Yeah.
Because Jason would have just capped off our midfield beautifully, and I don't want to harp on about it, but you just wonder sometimes whether clubs are smart.
Oh, especially being a local kid, it's just very disappointing. But that's how it goes, unfortunately. So we're going to we've got the bid for Dacos in, so it's all going very, very smoothly and to plan. I might log off in a minute.
Just leave me hanging.
Leave you hanging. It's all a bit.
Yeah. Well, see, the other question too, with regards to Rochelle, if we do take Rochelle, does that mean we don't need Isaac Rankin anymore?
Oh, absolutely.
That's him done, isn't it? And a lot of people would say Jordan Dawson basically rules Jack Lukosius out, which I tend to agree with. If we take Rochelle, then that's Rankin done. Now you can argue...
Because always... Sorry.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, as always, there's going to be great talent in the draft pool next year, and it's going to be much more exposed. And I reckon we'll want to hit that draft. And, I'm not sure that either Jack or Isaac fits what we'll really be needing.
No, and it's a tall draft next year too. Supposedly, good tall stocks, not so many midfielders, but as you say, Peter, exposed form. I want to briefly touch on the WA lads, because I think you and I both agree that when we're talking about exposed form and the worry about our concerns about Victorian kids, I can't help but think the Western Australian lads have been severely overlooked in discussions this draft.
Yeah, I agree. Particularly Johnson. I think he's a terrific player. He really, at times, looked to cut above. We didn't see a lot of Erasmus, unfortunately. He had some injury problems through the year. Although, funnily enough, he seemed to be able to get on the field for club and school. Just suddenly, when the exposure state games came up, he
went missing. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Went missing, but. So that might I think that will push into Freo's pick without too many problems. So, but I think that he shapes as the best of the kids. It's just a shame we didn't get to see a lot of him. But yeah, you're right. There was a lot of good, couple of key defenders they had as well who were really good. Although our key forward stocks weren't great. Yeah, no, you're right. They had some really good kids there, but it's just this obsession with Victorian kids, and Normally I would say, yep, the chances of getting a top line Victorian player are higher, but just thinking this last year and this year, just worries me a bit. But
well, what struck me about the WA kids watching the championship games and the curtain raiser was their physical size, their physical development seemed to be, pardon the pun, head and shoulders above the SA boys. They just seem to be bigger, better developed across the upper body. They seem to be more ready-made physically for AFL football. Is that something that you noticed?
Yeah, I thought that they beat us up a bit, and they were, in the end, they were far. They were. Oh, we had moments in those games, but we were certainly undermanned. There's no question about that. We're particularly undermanned up forward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some of those kids for WA really stepped up. So, yep. No, they were very good. Very good as a unit, and I'm the same as you. I'm surprised that some of them, 2 or 3 of them are a little bit further.
Yeah.
Into this first round.
Yeah. So we got a pick in for Gold Coast. Let's see what happens with this one.
Let's see if the draft just remains the same as everybody's been predicting. So this should be Mac Andrew.
So Mac Andrew, yep, that's the one. So we've got Mac Andrew to Gold Coast. Everything going to plan so far, which is somewhat disappointing.
Kind of disappointing, isn't it? So we're going to be watching Hamish now just to oh, look at that. That's a great scene for Mac's family there. Look at his mum. Very, very glamorously dressed there.
I think he's going to be a ripper. I think he's going to be a ripper, Mac Andrew. I really do. I loved his highlights. He's raw, but my goodness me, he's so agile. Look at that. Look at the speed for a big fella like that and the agility.
Yep.
Look at this. Look at that. Look at that agility. He's going to be a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be a very, very good player.
Yeah.
So we are now on the clock, and now I think probably what a few of us want to actually see is trade in.
Trade in. That's what we want. We're taking bets. So on chat in Discord and on YouTube, put your own bid on whether we're going to actually take a player or whether we're going to take a trade. I think I'm going to be disappointed. I think because I think we're playing a straight bat.
I think we're going to play. I think with those picks that have come before us, I think we'll be playing a straight back. Sorry, I should say, and we'll end up doing exactly what all of the mocks have said that we'll do and take Rochelle.
Yeah.
And we'll, of course, as good supporters, we'll all get behind him and hope that he's a great player for us.
Yeah. Well, right, feminist, you're out too. I'm sick and tired of this bullshit that you put on all the time about Tex Walker. You said it once and I'll let you do it, and now you're gone. See you later.
Ta-ta. Come on, Hamish. Come on, Reedy. Flick a trade.
No, they're still interviewing, Mac. We got another 2 minutes yet.
Come on, where's the live trade? Live trade.
Come on.
Here it is. Come on, no.
Well, I mean, even if we don't live trade, it's not a guarantee that we take Josh.
Yeah, nice try, Finn.
Oh dear.
I think it's going to be a little bit of an anticlimax, unfortunately, but that's how it goes.
Look, I'm going to say it before we pick it. If it's Josh Rochelle, I just think it's a waste of a top 4 pick.
Yeah.
I just think it's a waste, and we are very unlucky to happen to be the club along with North Melbourne that are going through a rebuild during the bloody COVID pandemic.
Oh, that's just so Crows, though, isn't it?
When stocks are thin and all the rest of it. It's just
such a Crows thing to happen.
Yeah, it really is. It's a shame. Here we go. Picks in.
I'm not seeing anyone.
Picks in.
I'm not seeing anyone on the phone, and the picks in. So it's Rochelle.
Yeah, Rochelle. Yes, Rochelle.
There we go.
Well done.
Well, that's the anticlimax, but there we go.
What a moment. This entertaining high energy small from
Well.
the country. Here's the class.
All right, we're going to get behind him, Fane.
Enormous potential.
Yeah, well, that's it. He's now a Crow. He seems happy about trading. His parents seem happy about being traded to Adelaide. It obviously hasn't been a secret. We can now believe all the smoke that's been around that pick.
And you know what? Look, the family look incredibly happy. His mum looks really happy. His dad looks really happy, and so that's a good. I mean, that's always nice to see the family get it. There's no sort of like mum tears thinking, "Oh, you know."
No, that's right.
My boy's leaving.
Yeah.
So that's great. And so yep. Hopefully, he'll be a little bit of dynamite that we haven't had, and will give us a little bit of energy across our forward. And I kind of feel like he's the Gallucci pick that didn't work.
Do you think he's the Gallucci pick that didn't work?
It's kind of that style of player. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think he's got more tricks than Gallucci.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To be fair,
I'm being unkind, but he kind of is that kind of high half forward type sort of player. But anyway, congratulations to Josh and welcome to the Crows. And let's just hope that he can bring that same energy and that same little bit of X factor that he talks about. And he certainly looks like a well-adjusted kid. He's been at boarding school in Melbourne, so he's been living away from the family for quite some time. So it's no big deal for him to move. I think also importantly, Fane, for these boys is that I think that they can now move interstate with a much clearer head with a lot of the COVID stuff, in the rear vision mirror with borders and things like that. I think that was probably a really, really damaging thing for Fisher in particular.
Agreed.
And I think for a lot of the boys, very, very damaging. And I think that probably contributed a lot to Jordan Dawson coming home.
I think no doubt about it.
Yeah, so I think for the kids that have lived through it, it's been a really, really difficult time. But I think that hopefully now his family is feeling much more comfortable about the fact that the borders are down. And
let's just listen to him, Pete, for a sec.
Yep, sure. Go.
I'd definitely say Toby. That's fantastic. Now you had a choice between soccer and footy. We're glad to see that you've gone with footy. What was behind that decision?
I think at the end of the day, I was very passionate in football. I loved playing both sports, but when it come to making a decision, I think I was always going to go down the football pathway.
Now, tell us about the impact the Shepparton Swans have had on your development as a footballer and as a person.
Yeah, Shepparton Swans has been massive for me. Growing up there, watching my father and my uncles and my cousins go through the ranks, they've helped me along the journey, and it's been very good.
What are you looking forward to most about joining the Crows?
I think I'm just really excited to go in day one, earn the respect of my teammates, and just get stuck into things.
Kicking a few goals as well?
That's exactly right. I love a goal here and there.
And a few celebrations too?
Yeah, don't do anything too strenuous, just keep it too basic.
Nicely done. Well done, Josh.
Thanks very much.
He jokes there about the celebrations. My understanding is he knows how to do the round off backflip.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe grand final day one year.
That's with the soccer background of
Right.
it just might be something a bit more subtle now with the AFL.
Just showing his scout profile there. We'll listen to this for a minute.
In most areas of the game, the disposals, of course, the marking inside forward 50 is the highlight.
Of course, that's only over 4 games, or 6 games or something. I'll just put up, just for the sake of people's information, I'll just put up the profile that was part of the Draft Central or Rookie Me publication that they put out. Obviously, he's 180 centimetres, 78 kilogram forward midfielder from Murray Bushrangers. Their analysis shows strengths of skills, smarts, finishing, athleticism, X factor. Needs to stay in the game a bit more. His consistency is a little bit down, and also his defensive work rate, which I don't think he's actually been recruited for. Key attribute, disposals above average, contested disposals, which is good, above average, athleticism above average, consistency average, versatility above average, but they rate his ceiling as elite, Peter.
Yep.
Projected it going at 6 to 12, so certainly at the top end of the projection. And basically the draft profile there, basically says one of the most freakishly talented players in this year's draft crop. Dynamic midfielder forward out of Murray Bushrangers, comes from an elite soccer background, as we all know, bringing the quick feet and smiling goal celebrations one would expect, but also a hard edge when rolling through midfield. With a slick turn of speed and sublime skills, the 18-year-old has an awesome highlights reel and bucket loads of potential. It's a player who, at his best, has top 5 potential. As a leading small forward in this year's cohort, his stocks will be boosted even further, and he will likely tempt clubs inside the top 10, which he has. Work rate and consistency are essential in the modern game, but can easily be developed in an elite environment. Rochelle will be drafted based on what he does so well, and there are plenty of traits which fans will quickly come to enjoy, as shown on the Fox coverage in the NAB League this year. Although I think how many games did he play, Pete? 4 or 6 or something like that?
Not sure. We've got another invader onto the end of the chat that could use a red card, I think. Pete.
Yeah, right. AFL fights and mellies. The usual dickheads on here. Where are you, mate? We'll just see you later. So average 18.5 disposals, 6.3 marks, which is interesting. Obviously gets some separation. Average 2.8 goals, so basically 3 goals a game in his limited time in the NAB, which is good.
Yep.
I don't know what RMC points are, but he rated 92 of them. So there you go. I mean, that's it, basically, in terms of our first round pick. We'll keep the coverage going as we roll through. I don't think there's any need for us to go probably past the top 10. Peter, what do you think?
No, I'm out of here at top 10.
Yep.
I do have my AFL buzzword bingo quotes here. What do you think we can use? I think X Factor.
Yes.
Athletic Beast.
Yes. Mercurial.
We've got next Dustin Martin. Maybe not. Absolute Steel. Probably not. Played against men? No, he hasn't done that. Future captain? Dangerfield and Fife prototype? Draft Smoky? No, he's definitely not a draft Smoky.
No.
Basketball background? Well, he's got a soccer background. We could almost squeeze that one in, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could squeeze that one in. Josh Ward's gone to Hawthorn at 7.
Yeah. It's all playing out very nicely. It's going to be a really boring draft, actually. It's funny because they always sort of say, this is the most, this is really, really complicated draft, this one, where, just all falling exactly how everyone thought. Go home factor. I don't think we need go home factor, do we, for Josh?
No, I don't think so, as we just hide another dickhead. There are all the Port Power blokes are out tonight, which is fun and games. Obviously nothing better to do. They'd rather troll the Crows podcast than actually worry about what they're doing, which is usual. So, we've probably got about 15 minutes left of this coverage, I would say. If anyone wants to air their opinion on Discord in the chat, now would be the perfect time. So stick your hand up if you want to have something to say. Just a couple of announcements while they're all rabbiting on Peter. We will be doing a full draft wrapped on Sunday. It was going to be our last show for the year, but I've had to extend it by one. So on Sunday, we will be wrapping up the full draft. Obviously, day 2 of the draft tomorrow. We're not going to be covering that on the night. But we do have some interest given that we've got 33.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Peter, you'll be along for that, won't you? And probably Macca if he's filling up to it, which will be good.
Hopefully, we'll see Macca.
And I was hoping that I was going to be able to announce a name, but should I, Peter? I mean, it's pretty much done, but I won't yet. Keep an eye on socials.
You're the one. You've got the...
keep an eye on socials. We've got a very special guest lined up. I'm just not sure of the timing, and it will probably be a pre-recorded interview rather than live chat. But if it comes off the way it looks like coming off, it'll be fantastic. Everyone will really enjoy it. It'll be very topical, and it will give us a good insight into the Crows thinking during this draft period. And then on Tuesday night, we will finish up for the year on Tuesday night, and we will have some words from Crows CEO Tim Silvers. Again, pre-recorded, Peter. We will be outstanding.
Outstanding, Fane, and certainly the engagement from the club with the podcast has been first class.
Yeah, have to give a huge shout out to the club. We did some player interviews earlier in the year. I have to give a very special thank you to Reece Homfrey, who's the media manager underneath Ian Shuttleworth at the Crows, who's been extremely engaging and accommodating. He's helped us set up the interview that I've got lined up for Sunday night. We're just putting the final touches on proceedings there. So, I just don't want to announce the name, but I can assure people listening to this. I can assure people listening to this cast that it'll be well worth tuning in on Sunday night. But then the Crows have invited us and also a couple of other Adelaide Crows podcasts, probably Sensible and the Project, along on Tuesday afternoon for a chat with Tim Silvers, and they've said that we'll be able to have a one-on-one chat with him, which we'll be able to record and play just to round off the season on Tuesday night, as well as a bit of a going away party for everybody, and just an opportunity for us to wrap up and say thanks to everyone. So Sunday night, we'll probably, what do you reckon, Peter? Should we go later? Should we do it at 8:30 rather than 7:30?
Yeah, 8:30 is fine with me. That's no problem at all.
So we'll do our Sunday wrap show at 8:30 this Sunday, and we'll do Tuesday night at the usual time of 8:30 as well. So stick that in your diaries. Keep an eye out on socials as Jaya Miss goes to Fremantle at Pick 8. Keep an eye on socials, and certainly when we have that interview logged in and loaded, then I'll be sure to announce it over Twitter, etc. Very quiet studio audience, Peter. No one wants to have their say or stick their hand up, probably because it went as expected.
Nothing much to really say, is there?
But certainly. So we may as well just round off this chat, Peter, with a couple of minutes of just thinking, and it's wide open, so it's complete speculation. But we've got 33.
Yep.
There's talk that young Matt Roberts might go that late. I don't think we're going to have any shot at some of the other SA talent like Arlo Draper, which really disappoints me. But do you reckon we might pick up Matt Roberts?
Is that absolutely a chance? His management said that he thought he would be going from between 20 and 40. And I'm going to be very, I'd be very interested to get a professional view on his season and the way that I see that Tony Bamford came out and defended him yesterday in the media and had a real crack at some of the social media pundits, and there's still a lot of very high level interest in Matt. He had a very serious ankle injury. He probably came back sooner than he should have because it's his draft year.
Yeah,
probably didn't do themselves any favours because of that. I expect him. My tip is that he'll go to Hawthorn at their pick. I think it's 24, which could become 26. So I'm calling Matt Roberts at 26 for Hawks. I know they had a lot of interest in him. Would love to see him come to the Crows at 35. It will be now.
Yeah.
Definitely his range, and I just think that if he did get to 35, then he's just too good a player to overlook at that point. So that would be my feel. Cooper Mealy's another one that could be around that pick in terms of the South Australian boys.
Yeah. I think Matt is going to be a real good study on talent identification, because he absolutely slaughtered under 18s, slaughtered all comers in under 18s. And as you say, got his syndesmosis and came back and played out a posse in the ones for South, and didn't do terribly, playing in the graveyard at half forward. but it was certainly not a position that was going to showcase the talents that he's going to be recruited for. And I'm just, everyone says he's one pace, everyone says this and that and the other, he's vanilla, etc. But I think, and we said this to people when we were covering the South Australian boys during the season, I think he's a dead set 200 game player for somebody.
Yeah.
So if you look at a player and think he's going to play 200 games, you don't expect that he's going to go around 30, do you?
No, you really don't. And I think it's just an interesting study of a player who dominated his competition in the first month of. I think it's just been a real what do they call it? Collection of just things that have gone against him, and that has been the fact that he had that first month where he was absolutely on fire and he was in everybody's top 5.
Yeah.
And then the perfect storm, that's what I was trying to say. It was a perfect storm for Matt this year, that's what I was trying to say, sorry. So then what happens is the Victorian kids get up for 4 games. So everyone wants to, obviously, talk up the Victorian kids. Then he gets a league game, plays very well in his first league game. And if you've seen the highlights of his first league game, it was excellent. And then he gets his injury at school footy, unfortunately. And, it was nasty. He was in a moon boot for quite a long time. Word was he probably should have had longer out of the game, but was desperate to get back.
Yeah.
And then he gets back. And instead of South, I was a bit annoyed, really, because instead of South putting him back to the under-18s, coming off from an injury, they put him straight back in the league team.
Yeah.
Not even a reserves game. He was straight back in the league team.
It was a huge ask for a kid.
It's a huge ask.
Yeah.
And, and this is the issue with this NFL clubs. Obviously, they've got their eye on what they've got to do, and they put him straight back in, and then what they did is they put him in the graveyard spot. So he wasn't even playing in the midfield. So it was just the perfect storm for Matty, and he did, he probably did lose a yard of pace just in terms of his injury.
Yeah.
But then it was, he was managed in the state games, and when they let him loose, he turned games.
He did. It influenced the games as Gibcus goes to Richmond. Small surprise at 9. I thought they might have gone a mid Richmond, but they've gone for Josh Gibcus. Who
that was a curious case of Matt Robertson, so he'll be a bargain because he'll end up next year being fit, and he's a pure footballer who will he will just play AFL. I'll tell you now, he'll play AFL football. He'll play 200 games. He'll average 25 touches a game, no problem at all. He's the smartest player in the draft.
Yep. Geez, it's all happening tonight with a bloody chat, I'll tell you what. We'll just remove that one. Look, it's... thanks, Donkey. Thanks for your time. We're just about going to wrap it up. We've got one more pick here.
That's it.
There's, like you said, there's Cooper Murley, there's Morgan Ferris, who's completely disappeared off most people's radars.
Be interesting to see what happens with Morgs, because I think he's a real talent as well, and I think that, it'll be interesting to see if someone is in the market for a third tall a bit later in the draft, so we'll see how that goes.
Rookie list, I reckon. Someone's going to pick him up on the rookie list, I reckon. And he'll be a bit of a steal. He needs a little bit of time to come up to physical speed, I think. But you're right, Peter, he's got a lot of talent. All right, I have no idea who we're going to go for. There's so many possibilities at 33 or 35 or whatever the hell it's going to be. It's pointless actually making any sort of projection. But look, I think we'll wind it up here as Freo just about ready to put in their number 10 pick. Peter, thank you for joining us. Everyone on Discord and on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. No, Matthew, we don't care about Port's pick. So we won't be sticking around. Don't forget, as I mentioned, Sunday night it'll be at 8:30. Macca, hopefully, and Peter will be on to wind up the draft and talk about how we went. And we'll also have that very special interview that I promise you, I'm not blowing smoke up your backside. I promise you it will be worth it. So until then, Oh, come on, Freo. I tried to time it, Pete. I tried to time it just as the pick was in.
It'll be Erasmus. It'll be Erasmus.
Let's just stick around and see if it's Erasmus. Yeah, and obviously, as I mentioned, our final show will be on Tuesday night. Don't forget, if you want to support the CrowCast, you can get around us on patreon.com/AFL CrowCast. Eternally grateful to everyone who supports us on Patreon, and if we do get that interview in before Sunday and recorded, I'll be giving access to patrons to that interview prior to Sunday. So keep an eye out on socials and on your Patreon feed. If that interview is done before Sunday, it'll be up for the patrons to have a listen to. Freo's picks in. And who have they taken? Erasmus at 10. So there you go, Peter. Erasmus at 10. Everything went according to plan. And on that note, I think we'll say good night. Good night, everyone.
Night, Payne. Cheers.